Alright, welcome back to Study Prep Guys channel. Today we'll be working some CSEC OA past papers. So this is live, so let's start this without further ado. So for our first action today, we'll be looking at the OA past paper on the year 2019. Let's start that. So the first question on the list is that you are responsible for planning the firm's annual general meeting. There are two attendees who have been designated ex officio members. State the responsibility of the ex officio members at the general meeting. One of their major responsibilities is general counseling of new office recruits. So general counseling of new office recruits is one of the responsibilities. That would be number one. For number two, one of their other major responsibilities is suggestions in training um, new recruits. And even though these two points here are very familiar in a lot of senses, they are not exactly so familiar. So first of all, they're not exactly familiar. Um, they're not so exactly similar, but they're quite different. But if you look at it from a first glance, it does look extremely familiar, but it's uh it's not that exactly similar. So let's look back at the question exactly. So if you look at the question, it says state the responsibilities of the ex officio members at the general meeting. The ex officio members, let's take a highlight at what that terms actually means. I isn't highlighted for some. Oh, that's erase. What's up with me, guys? I'm using erase instead of that. Let's look at the term ex officio members. Officio members. So if you look at the general definition, it says an ex officio member. If you look at the general definition right here, if you could see, it says an ex officio member is a member of a body such as a board, committee, or council who is part of it by virtue of holding another office. So they are generally a member of a body such as a board, committee, or council. And if they are part of a council, their main responsibilities, or one of the main responsibilities, is general counseling of new office recruits, and they need to also suggest suggestions in new training recruits, and they have to generally be involved in orchestrating the events of the council of the general meeting. So one of their major responsibilities or is generally orchestrating the events of the general meeting. They are the persons who will even call the meeting to begin with. So they are responsible in a large morality of senses. So we have that definition out of the way. And with that, we could basically have the gist of it right off the bat. So moving on, let's go back to our next question. Um, let's look into state two important features of a hotel you should consider when making reservation for staff members for traveling overseas. Two important features is that it is affordable. You need to make sure that the hotel is generally affordable. Make sure that the hotel is generally affordable. This is like the number one reason or the number one characteristic of any hotel. So they are generally asking State two important features of hotel that you should consider when making reservations for staff, members, traveling overseas on business. You have to make sure that it is affordable. Let's add a little bit more information there. You have to make sure it's affordable or in the capacity of the budget. So that's two things you need to really take into like major consideration. You need to make sure that the hotel is generally affordable or it has the capacity to of the for the budget, because usually within business trip you will have a budget, you will have amount of money that you can spend, um and you need to stay within that zone. Secondly, the second thing that you really need to take into consideration is that it has to be comfortable, or to make sure that the hotel is of adequate comfortability. So those are two major features of hotel that you should consider. So yes, let's move on. So it says Yannicki Brooks was elected as the new secretary for the Students Uprising Club. Members of the club, draft notice agenda of a meeting scheduled to be held at school. I'll look at this in a later video, but for now, we'll not answer this one. We're only answering the questions relating to conceptualization of terms. I will answer this in a later video. I promise you guys that. So let's look at section 2. It says answer all questions in this section. State to staff evaluation appraisal criteria that might be used for employee performance assessments through an organization. Um, State to staff evaluation generalization testings, generalization of tests. So that's one thing that they could do. So it says there's state to staff evaluation appraisal criteria. Let's look at the term criteria majorly. Criteria is the standard of what you're doing. Criteria means in relation to standard. So criteria, when you hear the term criteria, it's mainly to do with standards. So they're asking, how do they actually even assess staff evaluation? Let's take a look at that right now, because I really want to give it accurate data. Um, how do we assess staff evaluation? So it says the share the expectation and set goals, create a performance file track. Let's take this point. This point looks very interesting. Um, yes, so let's look at this. I just put that right here. So create a performance file to track contributions. This could be like in relation to like what were your tasks that was accomplished in a week. So that's an example of that, and I think it had a recent introductions with that in recent days with the incident of Elon Musk. Let's take a look at that, guys. So what's video again? Elon Musk, um, Elon Musk letters to federal employees. Probably spell that wrong, but anyways. So if you look at this video here, if you look at this is something that
We have new info.
if you look at this is something that happened a little while back with Elon Musk giving all federal workers 48 hours to explain what they did last week.
Information tonight about those emails sent to federal workers today saying, explain what you did at work or lose your jobs. That directive coming from Doge and Elon Musk. So here's a look at the email. It says, please reply with 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week. It has a deadline of Monday, 11:59.
So from the example, you could see like a basic education towards like what they did do within that last week, if you understand what I'm trying to say. And from that, And from that we could see like there's a basic adjudication towards like for example they ask what the hell you guys or what the hell you're doing within that month. And from that there was like a basic assessment basically of what they did. They asked for a reply of 5 things that they did within the 48 hours, and if they did not reach that performance standard they will be fired. And that's like a basic idea that um that that coming to mind real in really when we think of it in that sense. So that's something very interesting that they did back then. But anyways, let's go back to the questions. So define the term induction as used by human resource professionals. Let's look at that. What does the term induction mean? It says this is the action or process. It says induction is the action or process of inducting someone to post or organize. Induction into membership of formal introduction to a new job or position. So the induction that the term utilized by the human resource professional is the introduction to a new job. This is like where they teach you or they show you like what you're actually getting yourself into. So if you are applying for a new job or you're in a new job, the human resource person would usually in most cases like give you a heads up of what you're getting yourself into drastically. So let's just put it right here what you're getting yourself into. So that's about it, what you get yourself into. So we'll stop right up there today, guys. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and see you on the later video.